worldwide theme overtaking the Coffinverse in 2023.
Well, hell yeah, what's up? 2023, here we are. Holy cow. Thank you, everybody. This is an amazing year so far. Well, we're 19 days in. This is crazy. We got dual live streams going on. We got Julian doing his show right now. We've got the one and only Mike DeBalfo, who's given up some of his precious time to join us. And so we're super excited about that. Don't forget, this is live, so he's going to take some questions throughout the show, and we got a bunch of surprise ambush questions for him. Just kidding. Or do we? I don't know. Let's bring him on right now. Mike DeBalfo. What's up, Mikey D?
Hey, Jimmy. How are you, man? Good.
Really good. Woo, I was sweating it there. You jump in right at the last minute.
I really did.
Making me sweat. I'm like, oh, man, should I have reminded you? I know you're super busy. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, no, I had to pick my kids up from school at 3:40, so I knew I had like this very close window of time to swoop them up and then get here in time. And I got here at like 3:38. I'm like, oh man, get out of the way, kids! I'm like, running up the stairs, all that.
Awesome. Well, like a pro, you just come in, not sweating at all. But so father, artist, creator. It's amazing.
Yeah,
thank you for joining us. Super busy guy.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you so much for joining us,
pleasure.
folks. Don't forget, leave your comments for Mike, and we got him for this 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. All right, let's start where everyone is abuzz. I don't know if you noticed, but we announced Lady F Cybernetic Desecration coming up with your art right here.
Yeah, man.
This is February 8th. This is the Jewel Edition, and people are raving. Let's zoom in a little closer on that.
Oh, sweet.
Holy cow. What do you think? What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I guess first of all, what were you? What did Brian give you to task on for this? Like, what was it just like cybernetic theme or what? Tell us more about the.
I remember he pitched me. What was it? There was a few ideas attached to it that I could have ran with, and one of them was like, oh man, I want to say it was like Gothic cyber or something like that. And I remember seeing that combination of words, and I was like, man, that sounds really cool. That sounds really hard. I don't know how I would put those two things together. So I was at a bit of a loss for words. And then obviously in there was cyberpunk and things like that. And I do think that stuff's actually pretty cool. And it's pretty rare that I get to draw anything like cyberpunk and whatnot, Ghost in the Shell, the Matrix and things like that. I think it's a cool aesthetic. So as much as I wanted to draw something kind of evil and kind of darker looking, like I do that a ton. I don't mind doing it. I like drawing that stuff. But when it came to the opportunity to draw something kind of like what you see on the screen there, like all the neon lights and all that stuff, I saw a cool opportunity to kind of step outside of what I normally do and jump into something I've been wanting to play with for a little bit of time here. So with my concept, I saw some of the other covers. There's various different ways the artists approached everything, but I wanted to go straight cyberpunk with it, like I just did. So that's what I did here. I put her, in this big 80s leather jacket with some cyberpunk themes and the motorcycle, and then the background with like the Neo Tokyo looking scenery and whatnot. But with that, with my approach, like I said, I kind of want to take a nostalgia trip for myself and make something out of Akira or Ghost in the Shell or something like that.
Yeah, as a child of the 80s, this totally speaks to me. I think it speaks to a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of Sworn and the Fiends. Cool, so this was colored by, did you see it before with, colored by Hedwin?
Yeah, Hedwin Zeldiver, yeah. When I drew this, like he's the colorist who came to mind with it, because Hedwin's so good with these neon colors, obviously. Like he finds a way to put it into his style with almost everything he does, and I know he fits well. It never looks out of place. So when the cyberpunk thing came up, I pitched to Nick. I was like, dude, let's get Hedwin on this. Like, he's gonna knock it out of the park. So I was really happy with how it came out.
So the colors on this, did you get to design the colors or anything like that? Like, kind of have a say on it, or you just let him do his thing?
Going into it, we let him do his thing. Like I had full faith in what Hedwin can do with it. And then we can say in post production, Hedwin sent us a sample of what he had, and then Brian and I came out with him. I came out with him with some notes after the fact, and nothing really changed. Nothing major changed, but just some suggestions here and there to kind of make the eye go to certain places and so on and so forth. And Brian had some ideas with the risque version of it that they were a bit different than what Hedwin had pitched us. But yeah, right, exactly. So for the most part, that's all Hedwin right there. That's all Hedwin just kind of doing his thing and playing with his own imagination. Like I said, I had full faith with him, and I knew he would have fun if we took the leash off and let him run around the park for a little bit. You know,
that was a great. I'm glad you suggested Hedwin on this. Yeah, because when I saw this back when we were setting up everything, this one's a standout image. In my mind for sure. But let's see what everyone else thinks. Who cares what I think? Let's see what everyone thinks. Matt is saying it's a great cover. Definitely getting that one on the Kickstarter. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Matt.
Mike and Jewel Edition, I'm in, says Chris. Yes, yeah, man. Definitely. Matt's also saying Blade Runner vibes.
Oh, yeah, Blade Runner. Yeah, there you go too. Yeah.
Oh, gotta love that. Cat's also digging the cover as well.
Thanks, Cat.
And Ed saying it came out amazing. Gotta agree.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Chris was saying, hey, Mike.
Hey, Chris. What's up, Chris?
And yeah, Mark's saying awesome. So yeah,
Thanks,
so
Mark.
Not the only one. All right. So that is coming up in February 8th. Everyone can jump on them. And let me see, where's the next one here. But tomorrow, so from Primeval, you had one of a design you did. We're going to release this one as a print tomorrow. And this was one of the limited edition books. I forget what it was, but this one tomorrow is going to be only $16, 11x17 print. We call it the Naughty Spell Grinder.
Yeah, that's such a cool name. That one was cool. Like I talked with a few artists who were working on these concepts. That was a really open-ended concept. That was early last year when I got pitched that, and the general theme was Lady Death around the world. That's what they pitched to me, and I think they probably pitched similar things to the other artists as well. So Brian and the crew kind of said, Lady Death around the world, and let us really have full reign with ideas. As far as putting Lady Death in different cultures and so on and so forth. And my original idea was to do either a pirate or a Viking, and I think Mike Crome had done like a Norse Lady Death cover around that time. So I was like, okay, well that's out. That's already tapped into. And then the pirate thing was cool too. But then I think Marissa Pope mentioned to me a voodoo idea. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, I like that idea a lot too. And so I went online and did a Google search on all kinds of things voodoo, just voodoo culture, and then even voodoo pinup and so on and so forth, and just kind of mentally hodgepodged together some ideas and came together with this. This was probably one of my favorite. I sent over a ton of thumbnail layouts for this one, just concepts and things like that. And this was probably my top 2 choices. So I was happy when that one got picked. The picture you see there, but yeah, that was cool because, like I said, I had free reign to kind of draw whatever I want. But the Japanese idea came to me too. But I know Marissa was doing her Japanese idea at that time, and so was Ryan Kincaid was also doing a Japanese idea. So I'm like, God damn, okay.
It's like those movies, like all the movies come out at the same time, like the same thing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You're like,
you almost seem like you wonder if the studios are talking to each other. But yeah. So that was a cool project. I'd love to be pitched something like that again. Like the Lady Death around the world was a cool idea because it wasn't just around the world; it was also through all of time. You can go back to like the dinosaur age if you wanted to, or whatever you wanted, or the future even. But the voodoo thing was something that seemed really cool to me. I love drawing skulls, and it opened an opportunity for me to kind of draw as many little skulls as I wanted to.
So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20 skulls.
Yeah, right. Right. Let's take a body count on that picture.
Okay. Thank you for telling us about that one. And it's red. You gotta love it. It's cool. You got the little voodoo skull and everything in there. Let's talk about this one here. This one is we have one of the, or actually a couple of these left. This is the metallic version we're looking at from the New Year's Evil 2013 or 2023 exclusive we had. This one limited to 44 copies. There's a few left on the store. So what's the story on this image? I think we had the holofoil, regular edition, and then this metal. Stunning. Again, classic DeBalfo.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that one came out. Again, Hedwin colored that one, and he just knocked it out of the park. Again, I just didn't say anything to him. Kind of sent him the file. I said, "Here, Hedwin, color this up." And it's basic. It's pretty straightforward. but he just does such striking work. Everything he does just it really jumps out at the viewer. But this one, there was no concept. There was nothing attached to it. That's actually a sketch cover commission I did, maybe in 2021 sometime, I think. And either Brian or Nick or somebody, I probably posted it on Facebook or on Instagram or something like that. And someone had seen it and asked about it. And they go, "Do you have a high resolution scan of this?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I do." And they said, "We'll send it over. We'll use it as a cover." So it was never intended to be a published cover, as a mass-produced collectible or anything like that. But it worked out to be that way. So that was kind of a nice little treat, to especially for the person who got the original sketch. I think I did it at a convention or something like that, maybe. And that's the story behind that one.
Yeah, I love that Brian does that with commissions. Like if he sees something, he just brings it to everyone else. So it's just
I'll swoop it up and share it with everyone else, right? It's totally cool. But I love the way it came out. It looks cool.
We got Robert Zabarski joining us here. We got Bob Cronster, of course. All right, tell us about this one here. This is actually, there's not much left we have of Mike DeBalfo on Coffin Comic Shop. This is one of the few things we have. Only a few of these left. This is the which one is this? This is from the Primeval. It's a holofoil edition. And what was the theme on? Well, obviously it's once again, it's almost like with Lady Death now in the cyber realm. It's like when Lamorta was put in the jungle, everyone went wild for that. So it seems like the same kind of theme, taking the characters and putting them into a different environment.
Yeah, that was the pitch with this one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what can you tell us about this one?
Oh yeah, that was the pitches with this one as well. Remember, I got pitched this a story synopsis for the issue, and then similar to the cybernetic desecration one, sort of a list of prompts to keep in mind or consider while designing the cover, and most of them were like Aztec, Amazon, South America, things like that, because Lamorta was going to South America in this issue. With this one, I wanted to kind of put together like the Savage Land motif that we see, all over the place these days in fan art, but also put in like a military aspect of Lamorta into it with the guns and things like that. So I wanted to combine those two. So it was like Jungle Girl meets Dirty Harry, something like that. So around her neck and things like that, you see the earpiece with the coil coming down and the collar. And then her utility belt and the guns and things like that, but also obviously her costume and the spear and whatnot. So that was the pitch with that one, which is cool because the Aztec and the Mayan stuff and the South American motif, like there's so much fun. It's so much fun to draw that stuff, like the tiki stuff in the background and whatnot. It's really fun to draw that because you can really get creative and noodle away on the little details.
And I'm excited to announce that tomorrow we start selling advanced pre-order. There's the Comic Shop edition with the premium holofoil or premium foil. So all the little specs in there is going to be the foil treatment.
That's cool.
And you can really see the background changes on that with the Aztec temple back there, or pyramid, I guess we call it.
As I was describing it, like I wanted to mention this version, but I didn't know if you guys were putting it out yet, so I didn't say anything about it. Yeah, this is the alternate version where I put Lamorta in her traditional costume. Whereas the other one is the torn up Savage Land version. So
yeah, so gorgeous. How do you come up with the idea for the pose on that one? Is just so, and then you got the angle. It just feels like
yeah, that's a good question actually. For me. A lot of my ideas come to me once I sit down and start drawing. I can sit there all day and kind of I'll be pitched prompts and concepts and things like that. They're just words in my head. Once I sit down and I start kind of just sketching and doodling, that's when the ideas start to come to me. So with something like this, like say I'm going to jump into working on this cover. I'm doing concept sketches for it. Like I'll sit down at my desk and I'll just start kind of drawing figures doing whatever. There's no rhyme or reason to them. Just basic, random, arbitrary poses. And after, say 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those, things will start to fall into place. And I'll start to say, okay, well, maybe I got like 4 or 5 poses there. Like I like the legs of this one. I like the arms of this one. and I like the way that I turn the body on this one over here. So sometimes I'll do that. I'll have this handful of random sketches laid out, and then pull pieces of them and put them together in another sketch that becomes, a concept for the pose for the cover. Or while I'm kind of laying out these loose sketches really quick, an idea will come into my head, a visual will come into my head. And we'll say this, for example, it's like, oh, well, what if Lamerta's like in this kneeling pose and she's kind of looking off into the corner in the distance, and she's maybe, she's spying something, or she's eyeballing something off in the distance. And then, then from there, it's like, okay, I got the pose. What happens if I rotate the canvas? And I might rotate the canvas like that for any number of reasons. One could be, I want to make the figure larger on the image area. I want to fill the character more to the page, or maybe I want to create a certain mood to the image. Or maybe I want to have a compositional idea with the image that I want to make happen. So I'll rotate it or turn it or pose the figure a certain way. A lot of different things come into mind when coming up with poses. I get that question all the damn time. Like, how do you come up with poses? How do you come up with poses? Because I think a lot of artists, when they're starting out, that's a hard thing to come up with. I think is poses off the top of your head. For me, it comes naturally. I hate to say it. I don't hope it doesn't sound egotistical or anything like that. But for me, that's my process. Like, I sit there and I start noodling things out, and eventually something will come into place. It doesn't say I don't use reference. Like, yeah, of course I use reference and things like that. If you're drawing, you should always use that stuff. But when it comes to coming up with the poses, it depends on the situation that the character is in too. Like, sometimes I'll get pitched a cover where they want straight pinup, they want the sexy girl, or sometimes it's more open-ended, like this Lamerta cover where it didn't prompt me to do anything particular with the character. It just said, here's our theme, do what you think fits. And with this one here, like, I saw more of an action scene in this one, but at the same time, like, I know people like my pinup stuff, so I married those two things together. I was like, okay, let's do the sexy girl with something a little bit more action oriented, not over the top, nothing crazy, but something less cheesecake and more, we'll say, adventurous.
Yeah, it totally fits Lamerta the character, because she's not really cheesecake. She's more.
She's not a pinup girl, right?
And did you have like a story? Do you come up with a story behind it? You're like, she's looking at she's looking at something. Do you think like a story behind it, or is it just kind of like?
Loosely, yeah. Like, sometimes that does help too. Like, if you come up, sometimes I find, like, if you attach a story to something, and the more intricate the story in your head is, like, sometimes that does help the piece along more. With this one, it was loose. Yeah, like, as I started drawing it, getting into like the rough pencil stage and through the process of it, yeah, like, you start making up a story in your head where it's like, okay, well, maybe there's some dudes over here who she's after, and she's eyeballing them, or maybe she fell out of the tree and she just landed. I don't know, But yeah, like, for this one, there was a loose story of, she's stalking something. I didn't know what or anything like that. It was pretty vague, but that's what I kept in mind with it. And things like that help, because it helps when you're drawing it. It helps pull you into the scene and make it more believable. Because if you believe it as the artist, then the viewer is going to believe it as the person observing it.
Let's jump at some of these comments here. We got Jay Taylor, of course, saying Lamerta is everything. Oh yeah,
man.
Oh, I did want to say that you did say you didn't want to sound egotistical, but it comes naturally because this is your natural talent. So it's not surprising
that's part of it too. I've been doing it a very long time.
Yeah. So when you're talking about Frankenstein approach, so Bob's talking about with the taking all that, when you mentioned that taking all the different sketches, I had as a kid, I used to have this book that you kind of like flip so that the arms change, the legs change, the head change.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. What I thought of when you're doing that. Almost you're doing that subconsciously with each little sketch.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
It's very neat to hear that's what you do. Hey, we also got Leave Me Alone, Please. No. Hey, joining us. Hey, what's up? Yeah, Matt saying that's so savage and I love it. Oh, the previous one? Oh, yeah, for sure. Matt S. also saying, I've been buying DeBalfo coffin covers consistently since the Primeval holofoil. It has such a wow factor. Mike hid another gear ever since. Yeah, for sure. And Connoisseur always, pointing out the obvious. Your work is always in demand. Yeah, for sure.
Guys, don't forget the Mike DeBalfo Artist Celebration coming up in June. 3 all new Mike DeBalfo masterpieces presented in the finest paper and staples known to man.
Looking forward to those high quality staples.
You never know.
So, gotta know, you have great taste in music. We got to hear, what are you listening to lately? We need to take some notes.
Right now, until recently, my favorite band was this band called Cripple Black Phoenix, who's they're a rock band. I wouldn't say they're metal, but they're like very, very hard alternative, maybe almost ambience. So I was really into them for a while, but right now I'm really into Heaven Shall Burn, who's a German band. I wouldn't say they're death metal, but they're kind of like I don't know, they ride the cusp on like death metal, thrash metal, metalcore sort of a band. So I'm really into them right now. I showed Marissa Manowar for the first time the other day. She didn't care for that. I was like, "Do you want to hear the loudest band on earth?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So I put it on, and it was like the reaction was like just completely unfazed. I was like, "Oh, no, I will find someone who enjoys this." So right now I really like Heaven Shall Burn. I was listening to a lot of Miss May I recently. What else have I been listening to?
On the way over, I was listening to Sabotage.
Oh, Sabotage is cool. Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
And when I walked into HQ, they were rocking. Brandy Sparkles is having a day or two off. So for private reasons. And they're rocking Painkiller. It's just a metal fest back there.
Get rid of Brandy and bring in the good music.
Well, when she's in charge, she's in charge. When when the cat's away, the mouse will play.
I used to work in a warehouse where the warehouse manager loved disco music and all that crappy 70s, and that's all she would play all day long. So when she would go to lunch, me and the other kid would turn on KUPD and listen to KUPD while she was gone for an hour.
There you go.
That was torture, man.
I have an offsite storage unit, and they play music, and I don't know why they even play music, but all they play is like the most innocuous, uninteresting R&B and hip hop. Now I like R&B, but it's sort of like they found the Muzak version of it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm there organizing stuff, and I'm like, this is, if I die, and when I go to hell, this is how I will be tortured.
This is what it is. The brand X version of R&B.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, not any good stuff, but it's just like, where do they find this?
Yeah, right. No kidding.
PULIDO, in and out.
Oh, we got Jay asking you, are you going to be at any cons in the next few months?
Yeah. I'll be at MegaCon in Florida in April. It's like the end of March into April. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the Amazing Las Vegas. Excuse me, the Amazing Las Vegas Con.
Ooh,
and nice. I think that's in April too. And then Phoenix Con or Phoenix Fan Fusion in June. And after that, we'll see what happens. I don't have anything lined up after that, but things can change pretty quick.
And Chris saying can't wait for the artist celebration. Oh yeah,
thanks, man. Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be awesome. Chris is saying,
there you go.
Burn is solid. All right, good recommendation. I'm writing these down. Also, the Miss
May I?
Miss May I. That's
it's a very emo name, but they're pretty hard. So.
Speaking of emo, I listened to like a random YouTube channel that took South of Heaven, Solaris South of Heaven, and turned it into an emo song. And
what?
It was actually kind of entertaining.
It wasn't bad, yeah.
It wasn't bad.
All right. That's okay. I heard a Nickelback cover of "Sad But True" recently. That's amazing. It sounds just like Metallica. It was so sad. I was like, oh no, I like a Nickelback song now. Technically,
we got Angel joining us. Hey, what's
Angel.
up? And Scott. What's up, Brian, Jimmy, and Mike?
Scott, what's up?
Brian is true, ever present. He's always going to be here.
He's always looking.
HQ. So I just thought of something. Since you brought up Marissa, just interviewed Diego Bernard, and he was studying under Ed Bennis. He was, I guess, one of the first students at his Ed Bennis studio. Mm-hmm. So you have the opposite thing. Marissa is one of your first students.
Yeah.
Out there. I don't know if people know that you have and actually I grabbed one of her pinups that she did. Speaking of Lamorta. So Yeah, so folks do not know, like Marissa Pope is one of your students. So how would you look at this and what influence? I'm assuming it's all been influenced by you.
A lot of it.
Style, yeah. So where does Mike DeBalfo begin, and where does Marissa? And so how do you work with a student to get them to?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Are you trying to make her to follow your style like a school, or is it just kind of like trying to pull out certain things so she can become her own?
Yeah, it's more like the second part of that. It's more like trying to pull out her influences and allow her to build on what she likes best and things that she's grew up admiring and so on and so forth. It's almost like by happenstance that her work looks a lot like mine. I haven't done that on purpose. I mean, I going into things before we even met, like she was following my work and she was, we'll say, a fan. So I am an influence on her, I think, no matter what. But it was never intentional for her to draw just like me or anything like that. But at the same time, I told her when we first started out, I said to her, like, the only way I know how to teach you how to draw is to show you how I draw myself. So no matter what happens, because we'll be working so closely together, like I'm going to come out in whatever sort of style you develop. So I think to a point, it was unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was going to be at the infrastructure of whatever she developed into. But at the same time, like I said, also she has free reign to say, okay, I've learned from Mike what I have, but I really like these other artists, so I'm going to completely revamp my style and go draw like that now. Like that's fine. That's what she decides to do someday. Because like I said, it was never intentional to make a clone of myself or anything like that. Much as as cool it is to have like a little mini me running around. Some artists aren't into that. Like some people don't want to be so similar in style to someone else. So that's the answer to that. Like,
are you taking on any more students? If any artists out there that want to?
I get that. I get asked that a lot too. I don't know. It depends. I'll leave it up in the air for the time, because even when I met Marissa, like it was the same answer. It was just up in the air. It happened to be the right person at the right time. All that stuff, like the stars aligned and Mercury's in retrograde or something like that. I don't know, and everything worked out. Before that, I had tried like three people before I met Marissa, and it just didn't work out. Because a lot of people say they want to do this and they want to learn, and then it turns out like, oh well, this is really hard work and I don't have time to dedicate to it. And they give you all the reasons in the world for why they can't draw every day. You know, Marissa is really the first person I met who came to me with the same approach as everyone else and showed that she is dedicated and she does want this and she will draw every day and she will listen and she won't like some people will fight the person that's showing them how to do things. So they'll say, well, I want to draw it this way. And it's like, well, you're drawing it wrong. So if you don't want to listen, like stop wasting my time. So I'll leave it up in the air. I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna say right now I'm looking for anything. But if the right person, like I said, falls out of the sky again, it could happen again.
All right, young artists, keep that in mind.
Yeah. You never know. It never hurts to ask. You know.
Question from Matt: what character or team got you interested in comics?
Yeah, man. First and foremost, it's Ninja Turtles. I gotta throw it out to them. Like Ninja Turtles, like I got into the cartoon like we all did as kids, and then at some point in time, I heard it was a comic book, and I found that was appealing because I wanted to draw the Ninja Turtles. But back in the '80s, you had VHS, and you could pause the VHS tape. You had all the crazy lines, and you couldn't really see the image clearly. So I wanted a comic book version of that, because one, I heard it was like darker and grittier. I heard all the rumors that we heard as kids, like, oh, they say the F word and they kill people and so on and so forth. Like that was cool too. But then I quickly found out, like, those Ninja Turtle comics were really hard to find in the late '80s, early '90s, because like right after the movie came out, like the people were buying up the issues and they just became scarce to find for some reason. But then after that, a few years later, the X-Men cartoon came out, and that was like a whole new dimension for me. It was like X-Men on crack or Ninja Turtles on crack. It was so that was nice because like X-Men, I was like, well, I've been to the comic book store looking for Ninja Turtle comic books, and I've seen the X-Men books there. I know they're a lot easier to find. So I jumped right into the X-Men thing, like 100% full force for several years. So I guess Ninja Turtles is what got me like interested in comic books and introduced me to the idea of not just collecting comic books, but learning how to draw in a comic book style. But then X-Men is what really kind of absorbed me into the culture and opened the door with welcoming arms. Not that Ninja Turtles didn't want to do it, but nobody carried those books. It's straight up how that is.
And you got hooked. Bob Cronister's
man.
asking, what's your favorite classical artist? Hey, we got the hooligan.
Oh, my favorite. Yeah, I love Leonardo da Vinci. When I was coming up and learning how to draw, and I started studying anatomy and starting to take it more seriously, I got really interested in Leonardo, not his paintings as much, but specifically like his anatomy sketches and his studies and things like that. So I have a bunch of that books on that stuff. It's all correct, but it's funny. Like you can look at some of Leonardo stuff, and he was dissecting cadavers and things in his studio and drawing from those, but you can see areas where he's like, I'm not really sure what this is, so I'm going to make that up. And I hate, it sounds like a dick thing to say, like, oh, one of these Renaissance masters was drawing shit wrong. But every once in a while in his sketches, there was some muscle structure that wasn't 100% accurate. And around that time, it was really cool because I grew up and I lived in New Jersey until I was in my early 20s. And at the time, in my early 20s, right before I moved out of there, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, they had a Leonardo da Vinci exhibit coming, doing a tour, and it came into the Met one of those summers, and I was able to go there and see it. And specifically, it wasn't his paintings; it was the sketches that I'm telling you guys that I really liked to look at. Like I saw the original sketch of the helicopter he designed and shit like that. Like they had that there. They had a bunch of his anatomy studies and things like that. So that was really cool. It's like, again, right place, right time. Like I'm really into Leonardo right now, and there just happens to be a Leonardo da Vinci exhibit that comes into town. I'm like, oh my god, So that was pretty amazing.
Which makes perfect sense that for the anatomy, because you're like,
yeah, I'm a stickler for it. Like I'm not gonna say I'm perfect at it, but that's my thing. Like anatomy. Like if you want to do this, like get your anatomy straight, and everything else is almost forgivable at that point. Backgrounds and props.
That's the foundation. Get that foundation. That you do. A couple of questions here, real quick for you. Any plans to come to Mexico to meet the Mexican fans?
No, I'd like to though. I was invited to La MoleCon a few times, so that's been on the plate a few times. I haven't been able to make it. Obviously, I've never been, but yeah, it could be fun someday to go down there. I know I have a big fan base in Mexico. I always have.
That'd be awesome if you can make it out there soon.
Yeah.
And Miguel is asking, are full body pinup poses harder to draw than the bust?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much more that can go wrong. Yeah, they really, really are. And for that reason, there's so much more that can go wrong. With a bust, you only have to we'll say with anatomy specifically in proportions. You only have to worry about what you can see on me in the screen here. Chest up or torso and up. There's less to draw, obviously. So you can spend more time focusing on the parts that you can see. Whereas with a full drawing, a full figure pose, you gotta look at the whole character. And I mean, just anatomy aside, then you gotta start thinking about things like figure balance and things like that. Like your character is standing on the ground. Well, is that pose believable? Are their shoulders and their hips posed in a way that's believable, or are they posed in a way where in reality they fall over? Those are things you learn to think about while you're drawing. Yeah, it's weird.
One last question.
Yeah.
AI art. Everyone's a buzz talking about the AI art. How do you feel about this? Because they said the computers were going to come take your jobs. You assume it was going to be assembly line work, but it's going to be the artists.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, it's a shock because we've all been saying that for years. We've all been saying, oh, computers are going to take all our jobs, but that always meant like warehouse workers and assembly line workers. Hell, it even meant like people who work at restaurants and so on and so forth. In my opinion, I always thought artists would be the last people on the docket to be getting taken out by automated jobs, and now here it is. Before restaurant workers, the artists are going to go. So I got a lot of thoughts on that. I don't think it's a necessary thing. Like I don't give a shit. Like I don't think that AI art needs to be a thing at all. To me, it's another example of like science and technology doing something just for the sake of saying, oh look, we can do this now. And it's like that Jurassic Park line. It's like you've been so concerned with whether you could do something, you didn't stop to think, should you do something? It's the same thing to me, because at the foundation of all of human culture is the arts in some form or another. When you take that away from people and their hands doing it and there's something to that. When you take it away and you put it into a program and you allow machines to start producing that stuff, whether the machine is being prompted by a human to do it or not, you're taking the heart out of it. You're taking the soul out of the artwork. I don't care what anybody says. Like, a computer does not have a soul. The person operating the computer does, just the same way that a person operating a pencil does. But I don't think I need to mince words and say and over explain what I mean when I say something like that. You really are taking something away from culture when you allow, I think, a computer to think for the human and really do the hard work to manifest imagination into a visual or another sort of a medium that touches and emotes to other people on a personal level when they experience it. So that's my short answer to it.
That's great. I love that answer.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. That's great. All right, cool. We should end on that. And because your artwork does have some amazing soul, and that's for sure. You can't phone this in, especially with this new one coming up on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that one. Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, thanks again for your time. Appreciate you coming on, talking to all of us. Any final words for the Sworn and the Fiends out there?
Oh, you guys are the best. I brag about Coffin Comics and the Fiends all the time to people. You know, it's hard not to be biased sometimes, but at the same time, it's not fair to be biased. But it's hard not to be, is what I should say. You guys are absolutely the best, like 100%. I can't compare you to any other fan base with other publishers, really.
Awesome. Can't say it better than that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We got a lot more coming your way this year, 2023, because the Evilverse has been unleashed. Yeah.
Evilverse Unleashed, a company-wide theme overtaking the Coffinverse in 2023.